Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak to the second reading of the Subordinate Legislation Confirmation and Validation Bill number 3. Can I just begin by on the same tone that the previous Speaker did, and just to wish the Minister in charge of this bill all the best. I understand he's wishing his valedictory later today. But both as a Member of Parliament and as a former journalist, I'd like to thank him for support as a journalist and also as a Member of Parliament, and wish him all the best. It is a pleasure to speak, and I'd just like to also reiterate what Charles Chauvel said earlier about this bill, that it is about scrutiny, and we came into contact with this bill in the Regulations Review Committee, which I've had the pleasure of sitting on for the last 12 months. And I'd like to pass on my thanks to Charles Chauvel and also to Tim McIndoe, the Deputy Chair of that Select Committee, for their guidance over the last 12 months. This does look at 12 orders and one lot of regulations, and while those at home might think during an eventful day in Parliament that this may be mundane, there are a number of issues that are contained within this bill which are of interest. Well, there are a number of them, Dr Prasad, and I'll go through them now if you give me the chance. A lot of them concern levies around eggs and tamarillos, which we surely do not want to see lapse by the sunset clauses which are contained in it. But in all seriousness, there is a provision here to make sure that excises on tobacco do not expire in the time that we are here. And if there's one thing that I am proud of during my time in Parliament so far, is that this House has taken some serious action towards cutting down on the horrible effect that tobacco does have on our community. I think it's around 21% of our 15 plus do smoke tobacco, and it's responsible for thousands of deaths and about $1.5 billion to cost to our health system. So if within this bill it's contained that we are putting price pressure on tobacco, I think that is a good thing. There are also a number of other things which I think should just be mentioned quickly. It does have some provisions to prevent the export of pounamu, which I think is a good protection for a very precious stone, which is relatively unique to New Zealand. And also some provisions around the export and import of trout, which I'm sure will be of much interest to the fishing industry. But can I just also say that we do have reservations about the process here, as Charles Chauvel did point out, but we do commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary? Well, the member must stand at the time. You can't expect to take a call if you don't call after the following speaker. Raymond Ho, you have the call.
Much has been said about the purpose of this bill, and I thank the Minister responsible for this bill, the Honourable Simon Power, and wish him good luck. I look forward to his valedictory. As my colleague Charles Chauvel has said earlier, that this bill is about scrutiny. What is worth noting is one particular piece of legislation, New Zealand Superannuation and Retirement Income Act 2001 and the Social Security Act 1964, which came into force on the 1st April 2011. This particular order is validated and confirmed. It